I think you could probably say it's about lots of cosmopolitan cities in Britain and across the world. That's the only thing, and I don't know why,
So you're making my point for me, is we have lots of immigrants. So he's not racist, just a very naughty boy.
Hello everyone and welcome back to YTNews. In today's video, we'll be checking out some really triggered SJWs. But first, we need you guys to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel to see more videos like this and much more. Click on the bell notifications too so you don't miss out on a future video. Alright, let's just get right into this.
Let's say you own a pencil factory, I'm a worker in that pencil factory. You can have all the machinery, you can buy all the raw materials you want, but without me, and presumably many others like me, to assemble the pencils, all you would have is a pile of wood, yellow paint, graphite, rubber, and aluminum.
Okay.
That would be worth, and that is worth less than the pencil when you try and sell it. And yet, all of that value added by labor, apart from the wages that you give me, which if we're being honest, there is a major power imbalance in our ability to negotiate that.
We're starting off with a clip that involves Ben Shapiro. Here he was taking questions and someone was debating the fact that labourers deserve to get paid more. He also says that without the workers, then businesses are useless. He was very adamant at this point.
All that putting the pencil together requires is basic use of your prefrontal cortex. Then yes, your labor is alienable at lower rates than if you are a doctor. That's not the fault of the person who owns the machinery.
But if you didn't have workers like me and your pencil factory and you were just one man.
But I have millions of people who are willing to do that voluntarily for me.
As you can see, Ben Shapiro disagrees with this audience member, but then the audience member continues to persist. Whereas Ben was taking none of it. Ben killed his argument with some really good points in the end, even got the crowd clapping and some even laughing.
The downside. The worker does not pay the downside. Okay, it is the investor who pays the downside, who invested in all the machinery, who sunk millions of dollars into making your labor productive. Because guess what? Your labor is without that machinery. Gunk. Nothing. You don't have a pencil to put together, you don't got the wood, you don't got the paint, you don't got the rubber, you don't got the metal, you got nothing. Right? You're sitting there, standing outside, twiddling your thumbs. It required somebody to invest, who do you think put more in? The guy who spent millions of dollars buying all the machinery, leasing the place, making sure there was a management structure, doing the LLC formation, making sure all the tax code was in compliance, or you standing outside because you can stick a piece of graphite into a piece of wood.
Now we have a very interesting panel that was on a show called Good Morning Britain. They were debating about a tweet and if it was racist or not, and they got into a bit of a heated debate. One of the guests was making some really good points and suggested that tweet was not racist at all.
Race, what he's talking about, I think, is that, look at London, 42% of people who live in London are, like me, foreign-born, right? So there's a very significant immigrant population in London. Obviously, if you have half of a city, essentially, that are people who are first-generation immigrants, that is going to make it less of the local culture. It's just a fact of life, isn't it?
No, the fact of that is, and you're absolutely right, but the fact of that is...
It's just a fact of life, isn't it?
No, the fact of that is, and you're absolutely right, but the city has changed. That's fine, it's changed. But
What's very interesting about this clip is that the news presenter was trying to argue against this man's point, but still ended up saying he was right. Weird, huh? I mean, like, which one is it? It got even worse because at the very end, he does the exact same and then gets called out just for proving his point.
I think you could probably say it's about lots of cosmopolitan cities in Britain and across the world. That's the only thing, and I don't know why,
So you're making my point for me, is we have lots of immigrants. So he's not racist, just a very naughty boy.
Basically, there was no argument at all. This guy seems to be right, and the people were just trying to be offended for no reason whatsoever. It was pretty funny how it all played out. This guy owned them without saying much at all. They pretty much did all the work for him. Next, we have an SJW who was talking about helping other people who are not American natives and says that America as a country has a lot of resources. But it was the last part where she gets it all wrong. She mentioned that the country should stop spending over $600 trillion on the military. Well, she was quickly exposed for being absolutely clueless, because those numbers were just completely out of bounds.
I think that a bunch of white people came here like 200 years ago and stole land that Native Americans were living on, and there's no reason for us not to let other people come here when we definitely have the land and the resources, and instead of spending like $600 trillion on military, we should give those people medicine and food and water and shelter.
$600 trillion. Yes, that is 100% correct. Seeing that the whole GDP of America is still under 20 trillion, you guys need to stop spending 600 trillion every year on your military. That's very bad.
This person who made the video called this person out for using such numbers and showed how ridiculous her claims were. Next, we're going to see a feminist who was complaining that there was an issue with the way kids were raised, and that stereotypes like girls playing with dolls and boys playing with cars and trucks are the reason why there is a gender disparity when it comes to some of the professions.
The problem is just, you know, there's so many things. It is the way parents talk to children, you know, as you said, that the boy's told to be strong, clever, and I even sometimes have to control myself when I'm praising my young nieces to not tell them they're pretty. I just think it's become so ingrained in us that it's become a natural thing to do. But it's also, you know, things they see just externally, whether it's toys or media, and the fact that, you know, girls are given dolls. We've seen lots of instances of gendered clothing and toys, you know, and toys.
There was another guest who was on the opposing side of this argument. It was his turn to speak, and he made no secret about how ridiculous he thinks the whole argument was. He was even laughing at that point. Like, check this out.
Yeah, this study is laughably bad. It's not robust in the slightest. I mean, it is literally a case of feelings over fact. You know, girls outperform boys in virtually every academic domain. So whatever they feel aged 6 is irrelevant because it doesn't hold them back. Instead, this study and others like it should be focusing on the huge education gap which sees boys, particularly white working class boys, the worst performing demographic in schools. But of course it doesn't, because the author behind it is an ardent feminist who went out to try and prove a foregone conclusion. This is ridiculous. We shouldn't even be talking about it.
Radicus, are you smart?
He finds the whole argument completely ridiculous and laughable, and even points out that there's a real issue rather than this one. The woman who was making the first argument was trying to make her point when her turn came around again, but after her piece, the man finished her off with some valid points and absolutely silenced her. The guy once again pointed out how ridiculous her claims were, and also mentioned some of the fields of work which are female dominated, and also some reasons why the fields are more dominated by men and some are not. He absolutely killed her with some logics and facts. Those were some of the most insane SJW getting triggered moments. Which one was your favourite? Let us know down in the comments below. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys did enjoy them, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel to see more videos like this and much more. Click on the bell icon too so you get notified every time we upload a brand new video. Take care everyone, and we'll see you next time. Until then, goodbye.